That, yeah, I sent you a little thing.
Should have done that.
Good? Okay. All right. Jim, man, we're off to the races, brother. How are you?
Good, mate. I'm good. I've had successful weekend. I'd done a 50-mile bike ride yesterday, so bit of a recovery day today.
How long does it take to ride 50 miles?
I'd done it in just over 3.5 hours.
Oh, nice. What kind of any rolling hills or generally flat or
No, so I live just south of Norwich in Norfolk in England, and
okay.
Norfolk is notorious for its flatness.
Okay.
So we got no rolling hills, anything like that. But a few. I think in the 50 miles, I think I'd done about 1,000 feet rise and fall. So
What's what's English weather like these days?
it was lovely yesterday. It was a bit foggy till about 11 o'clock, and the sun came out and shorts on. It was nice.
Nice. Does the weather in that area, is it generally considered a little gloomy or is it generally good overall the year?
I'm really lucky. Norfolk, where I live, is on the east coast. So
Okay.
we do tend to get the best of the British weather because
Ah,
you've got a mountain range up the centre of England called the Pennines, and the wet weather tends to stay on the west. And
okay.
we're on the east. We do get a lot of wind, but
Okay.
yeah, we do fare a lot better with the weather than a lot of the other parts of the country.
Where I live, I generally get the cloudy, gray, rainy a lot. It's funny about so we're in Washington State, for anyone who doesn't know, the western part of the US, all the way in the upper left-hand corner. And so we get just a bunch of that stuff. But about an hour east is a mountain range. And if you cross that magical mountain range, it's totally different weather. Like I think the mountain range just keeps the gray clouds here and it's way more sunny and pleasant just even an hour away. But yeah, that's cool, man.
Makes such a difference to your life. It really
Oh,
does. I mean, it's
yeah.
like, do you have daylight saving time where you are?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like we're in winter at the minute. So like in a couple of weeks' time, we go on to daylight saving, which means that I can get out on my bike before I go to work. So like I'll have daylight from about 5, 5:15 onwards.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm an early morning worker out. I sort of have to get it done first thing in the morning. So and then in the evenings, I've just done a little bit of a shuffle with my partner. So like the Cubs run is ongoing now. So like after this, I'll be on the pickup.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. I know that life, my friend, running around with the kids.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
100%. It just never stops. Prior to the interview, you sent me just some interesting bullet points about yourself, your fitness journey, your past, or one, and a couple of them I'm curious to pick your brain about. We talk fitness all the time, but learning about people's stories and different things they've done is a cool window into so many different occupations and pastimes. And so you said you worked offshore in the UK oil and gas industry for
Yeah,
23 years. So when I picture that, I think of like, the big offshore oil rigs. Is that what you're talking about, or what did you do?
yeah, yeah. It's exactly right. So 2000 was my first ever trip offshore, and that was to a delightful platform up north out of Aberdeen. I'd done some work for about a year off of there, and then off the Norfolk coast. So England's got the little hump on the end, on the side, on the
Mm-hmm.
east coast. We've got all gas fields out there. So in my local area, it's a big, or it used to be a big employer. So it was one of them things where it was just uh, if you wanted to get on in life, it was quite a good way of getting on in life because you could go away. At the time, I had a house and it was an absolute wreck, and it was taking all my money, and I had no time. So I sort of done my survival and went offshore, and you at the time you done like a 2 and 2 rotation, so you done
Okay,
2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
that was my question. Okay, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, huh?
Yeah, so I've done about 12 years of 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And then for the last sort of 12 years, 13 years, I'd done 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 4 off. So every other
Okay.
leave was 4 weeks off.
And
But
what's your take on that? I guess maybe you haven't known anything different. I mean, did you look at quote unquote people with normal jobs, so it's Monday through Friday, weekend off with envy, or you like, oh, those poor people, I get 2 full weeks off. Yeah, I got to grind for two, but then I get to.
so I did. So I'm an electrician by trade. So like I worked on loads of different construction sites, different industries. Um, Working around here was a lot of oil and gas work, chemical factory, stuff like that. So yeah, I sort of like I was in like I was about 27, 28, and then I'd done my first trip offshore, and I I liked the work because people get a little bit het up on the money you can earn and the lifestyle it can give you. Because don't get me wrong, you can earn good money, but I've seen some very, very miserable blokes because they're in a
Mm,
trap where they've got to earn the money, they've got to earn, they like the time off. And fortunately for me, I like the work. I'm a bit of a nerd. You know, I was lucky enough. I found an employer that let me play with multi-million-pound gas turbines. That we run gas turbines with like jet engines. So like I get to play with them and all the rest of it. So for my first sort of like because I was sort of like single and I didn't really have much of a home life, I was quite happy. And
hmm.
then I met my partner. We've been together 20 years now, and
Wow.
so my oldest lad is now 13. He'll be 14 this year. And they didn't know any different until a couple of years ago when I started working offshore. And my little man, he's 9. For the first 6 months of me working onshore, he'd meet me at the door and saying, "Are you going home? Are you home now?" Or if I was leaving for work, he'd be like, "Are you coming home tonight? You coming home tonight?"
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's a massive adjustment for the family. But 23 years is a long time to do that sort of job. You've been in the military, you've been on postings and things like that. And, at the end of the day, I knew it's time to join the rest of the world. I'd missed too many birthdays, missed too
Yeah.
many family dues. Even though I did get the benefits from it, I made the decision. I had it. I had my injury. That's what ultimately finished me working offshore. But I'd already said to my partner, 55, that's me done offshore, and I'll find something else. And then I had my injury when I was 51. So yeah. But
Let's let's stick for a sec before we get to the injury. I'm curious just because I haven't spoken to anybody who's done the oil rig life before. Um, Pros and cons, like you just outlaid there. And is it safe to say, I'm guessing, this is totally, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume that like the culture out in this isolated thing is a bit more rough around the edges, but in a fun way compared to probably is like the classic political correctness you would assume if you commuted to a regular office in a big building and were surrounded by people with suits every day. Is it more like you got a good like vibe out there with the people you're throwing down with and you're like making fun of each other in a good way and there's this like camaraderie, or am I
yeah,
crazy?
no, I mean, I've worked with quite a few Americans over my time, and they struggle a bit in the UK because
How so?
they're very get it done now. Time is money. Get it done.
Uh-huh.
And in the UK, we have this organisation called the Health and Safety Executive, and they have a warrant card. So like they arrest you if you do something wrong. So
Okay.
like I worked mainly on the production side of the industry. So we were very safety conscious. There was a very sort of like strong safety culture. If they had this phrase, if it didn't feel right, it wasn't right. So
Mm-hmm.
so like we had the big accident in on the Piper Alpha, and that had massive ramifications all the way through the industry. So what I found is that it is a very blokey mentality with the laughing and the joking and all the rest of it. But there was a switch, and people knew
Mm.
when to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And also
That's
is
a
like
nice mix.
yeah, yeah. And something that was really good is that there was never a sort of like, well, that's not my job, that's your job. There's a case of you stuck in the middle of the North Sea. The lights went out at 2 o'clock in the morning. You had to get the lights back on. Do you know what I mean? It's not just to get production on. It's just to make sure you didn't, you got the lights on, get your safety systems back up, and all the rest of it. So like it was like, come on, let's do this, let's get it in. And we had this phrase, back for tea and medals. Once the lights came back on and you got production back on, you went and got a cup of tea and medals. Well, it's normally a cake or a bacon roll, but you know what I mean.
Is it safe to assume you've been through a bad storm or two?
Oh yeah, quite a few. And normally, if there's a bad storm, that's when we'll get like process upsets. So yeah, I mean, the worst one I remember was we were measuring about 100 knots, which is you
Oh,
times a knot by 1.1 miles an hour.
okay.
So but that's the worst one I remember in sort of like 23 years. That was, yeah, you don't do anything in that sort of weather. You just like you get inside the accommodation and that's you until the weather passes. And something else that the American guys, right, because the Americans started the whole North Sea industry. They came over, and Amoco were a really big, so they were part of Standard Oil, weren't they, Amoco? And then they
Okay.
got taken over by BP. They came over, and something they couldn't quite get their heads around is that the storms would happen with really short notice compared to like the Gulf of Mexico, where they had like quite a lot of experience. They'd have quite a lot of forewarning about the storms coming in, where in the North Sea, they didn't get as much, or things are better now with the sort of like meteorology, but
Sure.
yeah, but like that's something that in the early days they struggled with. But even now, the weather forecasts are very hit and miss. They
Right.
can be very hit and miss.
Best guesses, best guesses.
Yeah.
What was I just gonna say? Oh, I'm curious how it is over there in England, if it's the same in the US. And what I mean by that is you said you're an electrician by trade. And for the longest time, as long as I can remember, over here in the US when I was growing up, the trades, if you were an electrician, a plumber, work with your hands, you had a skill set like that, HVAC, whatever it was. I, I'm struggling for the right way to say it. It wasn't that it was not a respected profession, but it was, the blue collar work that it just wasn't as heavily revered as like white collar work, so to speak. You know what I mean? And there's been almost like a revival in the United States of people really
Mm,
embracing the trades and the value in the trades and how you can have a really great, meaningful, productive, and profitable life for you and your family in the trades. And this has been a big resurgence, which I think is really cool. And I wouldn't be shocked if, I've got three kids. If one of my two boys, I wouldn't be shocked if he went into the trades as well. What's the vibe on the trades where you're from?
So I'll give you a bit of family history. So my family, we've got we had a family tree done, and we could trace our family back to 1800 at the City Hall in Norwich. And
Okay.
my great four times removed grandfather was a pipe maker, and at the time you had to be a tradesman to ply your trade in the city. So he became the first one, and then it followed like the eldest son all the way down. But at the time, your family had to pay for your apprenticeships. So
Mm.
you had to pay for like the 4 years that you were going to be with your journeyman. So like my grandfather was the last member of my family that had that apprenticeship scheme. So he was a carpenter. He was one of seven. So it went printer, carpenter, all the way down. And then it was his turn. And then he went, I don't want to be a carpenter. I want to be a printer. And my great grandfather said, too late. You're a carpenter. Um, but like when I left school, I actually wanted to be a policeman.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to do something like that. And then I applied to the academy, and I was too young because they had like a scheme where you could go in quite early, and I didn't get on the scheme. So I thought, well, my mum was like, well, you're not sitting around here for 2 years. Go and work with your dad, because my dad was an electrician. So I got an apprenticeship, not with my dad, but with a big company. And then within 6 months, I was like, nah, this is me all over. And then I would say at that period of time, it was a little, because I had the qualifications to go and Well, we have like you do your you finish high school with your GCSEs, then you do A levels, and then you go on to university. So I had the marks to do the A levels, but I couldn't handle another 2 years at school. I was done,
Hmm.
and so I done an apprenticeship. And at the time, there was a different government. It was a different time, and they wanted like half the kids to go to university. So since then, things have changed to how it is in the US. I mean, I came to the US like a long time ago now. The Twin Towers are still there. That's how long ago it was. I went to the US. And then at immigration, you've got that big fat yellow line where you've got the dogs and the border guards and all the rest of it, and quite intimidating. And then the border officer was like, what are we doing here, And then as soon as I said I was an electrician, he was just like, mate, what's this? And like, attitude completely changed. And a lot's changed in this country, and now we are so short of tradesmen. But something that I'm quite passionate about is where I work, I deal with a lot of the training. So like, not so much apprentices. We don't get too many apprentices come through, but we have people that are like new to the organisation. We have to like train them through. There's different things that we come along, and I think we should have more apprentices. But now the debt that you can get into by going to university now
Oh
is
yeah,
phenomenal in the UK. I mean, I know in America, I've seen the
100%.
stories and the rest of it, but like my two lads, it's going to be a real challenge if they go to university for me to sort of like give them the best start, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
But my oldest lad, I don't think he's going to be a tradesman. He doesn't really, but my little lad, he's a bit too young to see which way he goes. But no, there's definitely a revival in tradesmen, in the trades in the UK, definitely.
Oh, glad to hear that. Yeah, I'm very, it's been very welcomed warmly here in the US, which is cool to see. Well, you mentioned briefly that you had to make some different decisions or whatnot based upon an injury, so and injury that maybe you said has been a bit recurring in your life. What's been the deal with that?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I played field hockey, and it's quite a big sport in this area. So anyway, had a few niggly injuries, just thought it was just part of it. And then when I was sort of like 30-ish, felt a ping in my Achilles, and then found out I'd ruptured my Achilles, and
Hmm.
didn't go completely. I was left with about a mil and a half of Achilles left. So I had a load of physio done, but at the time I was young, I was starting out, I couldn't really have a lot of time off work, got the minimum physio done, minimum time in a boot.
Right, right.
And pretty much since then I've had like a lot of sort of like soft tissue issues. And then I broke the other foot in an accident, which didn't help the situation because it made
Right.
me walk badly. And then shortly after that, I had I prolapsed a disc in my back, and I had to have some spinal injections for that. And then sort of like about 3 years ago, I was training for a high rocks, and I just started like doing a bit of running, and I knew things weren't great because I've never got double unders ever. I mean, I've been doing CrossFit 8, 10 years, and I've never got double unders because I've never been able to tolerate the
Mm.
repetition to like get
Hmm.
that sort of like timing. And my ankle would swell up. I'd get sort of like a lot of
Yeah,
swelling, like
not worth
pain.
it.
Yeah, no, no, no. So anyway, I was slowly building up my running on a treadmill. I was taking it really careful. I was working with physio, and he was just like, do this, do that. And yeah, I was working night shift, February the 14th, the day of love. And I just stumbled on a great, sorry, I say grating. It's like a curbstone, but made of steel. So, and
Mm.
I just landed on the hill and just went ping. And I went back, so I went to the hospital, and then they were like, "That's not good." So they put me in a boot, got the MRIs done, and it hadn't actually ruptured completely. But what had happened was I'd got lots of micro tears.
Hmm.
So in the 20 years between me initially doing it and 2 years ago, it had never healed properly, and then it it continuously been sort of like fraying and then repairing, and then all of the rubbish from the repair hadn't, like, because you've got bad blood flow there, it's not gone.
Hmm.
And so then had surgery about a month later, where, well, before that I was given three choices. I was like, do nothing. um we could do a tendon replacement, taking a piece out of my big toe tendon and stitching
Oh,
it in where my
wow.
Achilles is, or I could have like a halfway house, which is what they call a debridement. So essentially, what they did is they went in on the side, which was the most damaged side of my Achilles. They cut their way to the bone, and then they moved their way back, cutting out all the bad stuff that was not really doing anything. So they got to when I came round, I sort of said to the surgeon I had it go, sort of thing. He was like, we removed about a third of your Achilles, he said, but there's a lot left that's not great. So now, I mean, like, I knew things weren't going to go well when I should have been back to work in 10 weeks, and I was still using crutches after 10 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, bit of a long story, and then the surgeon said, right, okay, we need to get your feet looked at. We need to find the root cause of this. So I went to see a biomechanics specialist where they analyze your walk and your gait,
Hmm.
and they found a problem with my feet.
And I
So
think that did it, huh?
yeah, so like they said, well, the medical term is equine foot. So basically, my toe, when my foot, so let's say that my foot is like that. That is exactly how my foot is. There's about a 20 mil gap from the heel of my foot to my toe, and then obviously when I put pressure on it, my Achilles is constantly taut. So that,
Interesting.
yeah, so that is why it went. But then when I was seeing the specialist, they were like, "So have you had that bad back?" And I'm like, "Yeah, prolapse disc. Have you done this? Yeah, I've done that."
Funny you
And
mention it.
yeah, funny you mentioned it. So now I've got these insoles in my shoes now, and I struggle to walk without a limp, without these insoles now. So these
Oh, they're a
insoles
game changer.
are absolutely, I say my life has completely, my life has completely changed, but these make things tolerable. So,
Oh,
but
I'm
I
happy to
mean,
hear that.
yeah. So work wise, so after all this, like the occupational health people are like, well, we can't have you offshore like that, because I'm now, I'm basically now waiting for it to snap again,
Hmm.
and then when it does go, they'll do this full repair. But because I'm relatively young to have this operation done, they don't like doing it because it's like a one hit. So it's
Gotcha.
best to manage what I've got than it is to, because the recovery time is, if I have this operation done, it's 9 months in a boot,
Oh, wow.
and it's my
Wow.
right foot as well, so there's no driving. I mean, it's
Hmm.
so I'm sort of like
Geez.
trying to kick that ball well and truly into the long grass.
Well, I mean, it sounds like those insoles are going to be a lifesaver for you.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And then other things as well. So I don't really walk very far now. I mean, like I only probably do 5,000 to 6,000 steps a day. I avoid stairs at all costs because stairs are like my nemesis at the minute.
Mm.
And then that's got implications with the family as well, because like, you know, oh, we want to go to the theme park, and it's like, well, where are we going to plant your dad for? Do you know what I mean? It's things like that.
You're doing your best, man. You're just playing the
Yeah,
hand that you were dealt, you know? What can you do?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
well, that's interesting.
hence
I wish you the
hence my,
best, man, with that. That's a lot.
yeah, I mean, I suppose I didn't really process it until a while ago, really, because I went through some really bad times as well. Like I had 6 months off work, and I knew it wasn't getting better. And then it was just like, well, am I going to work again? Am I going to go offshore? Do I need to find another job?
Mm.
Do I have enough qualifications to go into the engineering and this and that and next? And it's sort of like, fortunately for me, my employer, there was a position opened up on the engineering team. So I transferred from the offshore assets to the onshore engineering team, which I've been doing now for 2 years.
Good for you, man. I'm very happy that that door opened for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just Man, life's got its ups and downs, right? I mean, you can have whatever plan you want. Life doesn't care about your plan in any way, shape, or form.
It's just I love these phrases that you see. You sort of like, I don't know. In engineering, we have one measure twice, cut once. It's sort of like things like that. I love them. I think they're great. I've got loads and loads on my phone. But there's two. There's two that I always remember. The first one is every day is day one.
Mm,
And no matter how good your day was the day before, or no matter how bad your day was the day before, we've been given another day the day after, if you're lucky. So,
very true.
yeah. And the second one is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And if I have two
Yeah,
things that I live by, it's them two.
I think those are two pretty good ones. You know, the other thing you mentioned that I want to touch on quick before let you head out and run around with your kids is I love talking to people who identify themselves as program hoppers. Love it. I love it. I think it's fantastic because it's real life. I mean, it's really, interests come, go, and we've had, people get bored, they go somewhere, and they find out they miss Linchpin, they come back, and I love hearing their stories. And you said you've been a bit of a program hopper, that this is now your third time back with Linchpin. In parentheses, you put sorry, I'm here to tell you, no apology needed. So tell me, what is it about yourself that made you program hop previously, and why in the world did you decide to come back to Linchpin?
So, first of all, working offshore. So I was at a box. I was doing box programming when I was onshore, and I was going offshore, and I was picking up like really daft, niggly injuries because
Mm,
I was trying to use two different programs, and I found that that just doesn't work for me. And the particular box that I was at was a bit too heavy. It was a bit too barbelly, weight heavy, if you know what I mean. So I then was using your program while I was working offshore because of the limited equipment, which is ideal for
sure.
working offshore. And then I sort of like thought to myself, well, yeah, I'm going to give something else a go. And then so I gave another program a go, and then sort of like I sort of like would say I get bored. There was like two or three programs that were just boring. They were just absolutely boring. And then it was just like there was another program, and I was looking at these exercises. I was just like, is he some sort of yoga god? How on earth am I going to get in that position to do this particular whatever it was? And then I had a person. I did have two personal trainers,
Oh, okay.
and I really really enjoyed working with them. And they were mainly around injuries, sort
Mm,
of like when I was recovering from my back. And then I had when I was recovering from the Achilles surgery, I did go out and get a personal trainers for that,
nice.
just to sort of like really focus in on it. But I still looked at your stuff on Instagram, so I paid this money for a program. I'm like, right, I'm doing this, this, and this, and I'll be like in the evening, I'll be like, oh, they're doing that today. I'll be like, I want to do that. And I suppose over the years, I've educated myself. So like that,
Mm.
is it an ebook or a PDF that you did? So
Oh, the ebook. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So the weekend you released that, I downloaded it and read it. The weekend you
Oh,
released
cool.
it, and sort of like I even programmed for myself for a while, and
Nice.
honestly, it's so time consuming. It was just like, yeah, you're worth every penny to do it for me.
That's cool. Well, for anybody who's curious what we're talking about, yeah, I wrote an ebook, a free ebook on programming. You can go to crossfitlinchpin.com, click a little thing tabbed ebook, and then just read it for yourself. But yeah, that's cool, man. It's
Yeah.
I
But
love hearing the
yeah,
stories.
but something is like, so I said I'm an electrician, right? So like, I've done a lot of different, like I've done the same job, but lots of different industries. And
Mm,
I've learned something, either good or bad, from every one of those jobs, if you see what I mean.
sure.
And every one of those programs, I've learned something good or bad from. So, like, and I've just decided that on aggregate, your program fits me the best. Um, and so like, I mean, yeah, I know damn well that if I was to follow this program where week one you'll do, I don't know, a 10 rep max, and then week two you'll do a 9 reps, I know that you are eventually in 10 weeks going to get your scores up and all the rest of it. But
Right.
man alive, my life's just too short to do it like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do. Man, I love, I get to do a lot of different stuff with Linchpin. I feel very fortunate and to get to hear people's stories and help them out. And one of the best things that I do every week is these member interviews. I mean, I love hearing about different people from all around the world, different walks of life, different journeys, different ups, different downs. It's very, very cool. And man, the oil rig work fascinated me. The thing about the trades fascinated me. Your resilience of coming back from every time you had this thing happen with your Achilles. I mean, and you're not out of the woods yet, and you got a good attitude about it. But Jim, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you sharing your story and being a part of Linchpin.
Yeah. No, I mean, as I said, I mean, like something I will say is like I don't know how many tradesmen you've got on the linchpin programming, but being a tradesman, it's not kind on your body, you
Mm,
know. And so, like for all of those, plumbers and plasterers and bricklayers and electricians and all the rest of it, yeah, I feel it. When they're saying, "Oh, my knees are playing up, my back's playing up," and all the rest of it, they've got to still do a day's graft. So,
yeah,
so yeah, that's that, and that's something that I like about your attitude because it's like it's just like, so what? Is the world going to end if you don't do this particular thing? Well, of course it's not. It's just
100%.
you know you just have to do the best you can, and at the end of the day, it's just I'm here for the longevity and a happy long life and as mobile and as fit as I can be now, and that's it. My days of trying to do CrossFit competitions or whatever are gone. I'm just there to just lose my head for a 45 minutes to an hour, 3 or 4 mornings
Hey,
a week.
you got to be able to keep up with the darn kids.
No, my kids are far quicker than me.
Yeah, same with myself as well. But yeah, hey, I again m different time zones. I appreciate you making this happen, man. It's an honor to get to talk to you, and I wish you the absolute best with like a long-term solution for your Achilles.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I've really enjoyed this. It's been good. Thank you.
You got it. Take it easy, Jim.
And you. Bye, mate.